Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Christian Duke from StrengthAddicts.com. We're here at Michigan Barbell with Brian Carroll. Brian, welcome.
Hey, thank you for doing this, man. How you doing?
Awesome. I've heard a lot of great things about you, seen a lot on the internet, and I want to jump right into the interview. So let's talk about what got you started in the sport of powerlifting.
I was a decently strong kid in high school. When I went to 9th grade, I was about 110 pounds at about 4'11". I didn't like being so small. Got into weight training. Ended up benching 350 in high school. Didn't really squat or deadlift much. Some people that were a good influence on me at the local gym got me into powerlifting. Norman Jordan, Skip Sylvester. Basically, after they saw me lifting in the gym, once I started squatting and deadlifting along with the bench, they just came up to me and said, "Hey, you're doing a meet." And that was after doing a few bench press competitions in '99, 2000. 2003, they said, "You're doing a meet," and I haven't looked back since.
What's it like, I mean, from going into the gym, training this way? A lot of people go into the gym and they train just for show, for appearances. What's it like training as a powerlifter and then very shortly thereafter getting in the mix with the guys that do it, you know, routinely?
Big difference, and this will be a whole other topic for another discussion, but there's a difference between a strong person in the gym and a good or great powerlifter. You can look good and you can lift okay at meets, or you can totally focus on strength training in the gym. You'll sacrifice some for your physique, the way you look, but at the end of the day, if you're strength training, that's what you focus on, and you'll do what you need to do to achieve your goals. And that's what I did with 1020 Life. I created a system. No matter what you do, no matter what your goals are, if your goal is to get strong, I show you how to do it no matter what sport you play. And it shows you how to channel your weak points, make them strong points, which in turn bring up your squat, your bench, and your deadlift. And at the end of the day, if that's what your goal is, to gain strength, you have to train for strength. There's no in between. Otherwise, you're going to be okay at this and okay at that.
Now, we had talked about before the interview, because I think there's a big riff, or at least I think there's a big riff between raw and shirted lifting. And there's a misconception out there that I actually perpetuated by talking to you, is that, you know, people say raw is more pure powerlifting, but you actually train raw,
right,
and you only wear the shirt for competition. So maybe address that issue, the whole raw versus shirted.
Strong is strong no matter what. Dan Green is strong, Eric Lillybridge, Kate Weber, Jay Nara, all those guys are ridiculously strong. Dave Hoff is also very strong. Donnie Thompson is very strong. You've got guys, depending on what their goals are, either one you could flip-flop and they'd be successful at equipped or raw. At the end of the day, we all train raw. I train raw on the off-season as an advocate in 1020 Life. All my off-season stuff is raw, so I'm building my strength, and then I carry it over to the gear. So that is a big misconception that, oh, Brian only trains in gear. I only compete in gear because at the time that's all we did. We lifted in gear. You talk to Ken Richardson back in the day, they lifted in whatever was allowed in that federation, and they maximized it. There was no raw back then. It was whatever you could wear is what you could wear.
How long has raw, I mean, people think raw has been around since the beginning. I mean, how long has raw actually been on the scene?
Raw got popular in 2006 with the New England Record Breakers. Some people would lift raw because they couldn't lift in the equipment, whether a bench shirt or deadlift suit. I've done it before, and I started off lifting raw, but people lifted in the APF. APF was huge in the early 2000s with the WPO, and that's how I got started. Multiply, and that's how I lift. I respect all these guys. A lot of these guys, I'm just as strong as raw. I just don't compete that way, and I respect them. At the end of the day, all of it's powerlifting. It's all strength training. There's just an added variable, which is a difficult element in the powerlifting gear that makes equipped powerlifting more difficult. Not easier,
right,
necessarily for raw, but it's just more difficult and complicated with the extra variable in the equipped lifting.
Okay, so one thing we talked about also before we did the interview, especially with 1020 Life, you're trying to really give people some guidance about how to lift and how to eat and how to perform.
Right.
Talk to us about federations. I mean, if someone were to come up to you, Brian Carroll, and say, listen, I want to compete. I'm training hard, I'm eating right, I'm taking my supplements. I want to compete, but there's literally like at least a half dozen federations out there that are, I would say, credible. Which one should I compete in and why?
I would tell them to start lifting locally, somewhere close to them, somewhere they're not going to have to drive, you know, across the United States to get to. If they want to lift equipped, find an RPS meet or APF meet. If they want to lift raw, find them. You can lift raw in anywhere. It really doesn't matter. You want to lift single ply? USPA is probably the best place to lift single ply right now. Untested, tested, whatever, I really don't care whether you like to take supplementation. You take protein, you take fish oil, you take, you know, gluten-free this, gluten-free that. I don't really care. At the end of the day, find where you're comfortable, have fun lifting, but most of all, work on getting better, put the work in the gym, and don't expect to just show up and have things magically fall together. That's why I put together 10-20 Life. Have a plan, lift however you want to lift. It's not raw, it's not single, it's not multiply, it's strength training at the end of the day. Whatever you want to do it, find something local, get your feet wet. You'll fail a little bit, you'll drown a little bit at the beginning, but that's how you learn.
Okay, so as we wrap up the interview, let's just talk about what you're doing here with the guys at Michigan Barbell, and of course, any shout outs that you want to give to the people along the way.
So when I developed 10-20 Life, it's basically the way I've trained for the last 10 years powerlifting and 20 years overall. Basically the concept is 10 and 20 weeks at a time for a lifetime of forward momentum and progress in your training and in your life. So it's not about what you do in 1 or 2 years or even 4 or 5 years. What about 10 and 20 years, which is a decade or two? Look at all the greats over time in any sport, you measure them by the decade. So what I'm doing is I'm getting coaches and gyms certified underneath the 10-20 lifestyle, underneath the 10-20 programming, the whole gauntlet, warm up, injury, rehab, prehab, programming the main lifts, and specialized assistance work, which sets my program apart from any other. I have a book that you refer to for your weak points. You plug and play, you put it all together. Most of all, it's not a fucking template that you just put together and run for 3 or 4 times and you're done. It is customized and it's comprehensive and anyone can use it.
And what's the website?
1020life.com, TENTWENTYLIFE.com. You can also go to poweractmedia.com. I have a whole team there. A lot of articles that coincide with the book. Anything you need, hit me up, briancarroll.lmt@gmail.com. I'm on all the social medias. You can hit any of my coaches up. Any questions you got, we're willing to help you.
Okay, and the shout outs.
Yeah, shout out Rudy Rosales for Overkill. Thanks for all the help. Envy Nutrition, my team, Michigan Barbell, all the ones at Power Act Media. Thank you for all the support with the book. And you guys have been great. Thank you to my wife. And all you that have been a huge driving force with this whole project, I thank you very much.
Awesome.
And thank you for the interview.
Awesome. Thank you so much. For Brian Carroll, this is Christian Duke at Michigan Barbell.